going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today is going to be one of the most highly anticipated videos that I've had on my channel. We are going to be talking about the 5 best buys in sports right now. This is a video that I've talked about that I'm going to be releasing, and I've even got some messages on Instagram asking what are the best buys right now. And these are the 5 guys. It's more, well, now that I count, I have 6 guys on here, or even 7, but 2 of the guys I'm not really 100% the most knowledgeable on, and I'm going to start with those guys right away. It's definitely not Julio. You guys knew, though, if you've watched my other videos, he had to be on this list. But the first guy is actually going to be a pitcher, and here he is listed as a pitcher and first baseman, which I don't think he plays first anymore, and he definitely won't after the season that he's having, and that is Alek Manoah. Now, he is, as you can see, a 6'6", 260-pound right-handed pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. He is 23 years old, and he is from West Virginia University. He was drafted 11th in the 2019 draft, and what that tells you is he went to 3 years of college, at least, and he's more of a developed player where he should be coming up to the minors, I would say, at the end of this season. If you watch the Blue Jays, their pitching is definitely not one of their strong suits. I'd say based off of the games that I've watched and stats that I've looked at, it's definitely their offensive side of the ball, especially after adding George Springer this offseason, which makes me think if they can maybe add a stud pitcher like Manoah, that could help them get to that next level. Now, this year, he is playing in AAA, which tends to be a more hitter-friendly league, which is why it is amazing that he is playing the way that he is. He has played 3 starts on the season, has a .5 ERA, and that's been in 18 innings, so he's averaging 6 innings per game, and he's gotten 3 wins. He has only allowed 7 hits and 3 walks compared to 27 strikeouts. That is a 2.7 strikeout to walker hit ratio, and that's not really a thing, but that's something that I kind of look at to see, is this a guy that's allowing base runners? And that's why you can look at his whip, which is his walks and hits per inning pitched, and that is sitting at a .556, which is exceptional. As you can see over his seasons at West Virginia, he finished his college career with a .9 whip. It kind of trended down as he got older and played with more experience. And even in the minors, last time he played in 2019, he was actually having a really good season. He only was able to pitch 17 innings. Now, I don't know if this was due to injury or whatnot, but he had a 2.65 ERA, and he had a 1.059 whip, which is still really good. Anything generally under a 1.3-ish is, I would say, really good, at least in my opinion. That's something I'm looking at. The only reason I have Manoah on this list is because of how well he is playing this year. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's going around, people speculating that the MLB, and I don't know if this is for the minors, but has helped out pitchers this year. They've unjuiced to the balls, if that makes sense, where we are seeing more no-hitters that we've ever seen before in a single season, and we're not even at the All-Star break. And in the minors, Manoah is just killing it, which makes me think if he gets called up and he plays at a similar level, not even the same way, his numbers are only going to improve. All we can do is hope he doesn't get injured. I'm assuming he must have gotten injured last season. But you can see his strikeout numbers are pretty much the same. His walks are the same as he did last year. The one big difference is he has cut his hits allowed in half. He has allowed 4 less runs, and he has allowed only the same amount of home runs, which means he's still a good guy that does not allow home runs, but he's not allowing base runners, and he's not allowing these guys to get hits and drive in a run, which is really spectacular. The next guy is going to be João Felix for Portugal. He is a guy that if I'm looking to buy him, I would buy him for the Euros and then sell him right when the Euros end, or if Portugal gets knocked off, or even leading up to it, because I think the soccer card market is going to explode even more leading up to the Euros. I think once the Euros start, and maybe after the first round, and some teams start to lose, maybe a potential upset, I think the sports cards of top players that are in the Euros are going to start to drop a little bit. I think the best time to sell is going to be leading up to it because people are anticipating it being such a large event for investors. and they are going to be expecting, man, if my player wins, I think that my card's going to 2x or 3x or whatever number they want to predict. And unfortunately, that's unrealistic, but that's the mindset a lot of people have going into the NBA playoffs, going into the NBA regular season, going into the MLB season. When a player gets called up, we see it all the time. So that's why I would recommend you guys be very careful and don't start putting the amount of money that you've made into your pockets until you've sold the card. Now, João Felix is a guy that I am going to show you a little bit of a clip. This is from Trike 415 Sports Cards. Troy has some really good videos. He focuses more on the soccer aspect, which is something I don't know as much about. So if you want to watch this full video, it's 14 minutes long. You can see he has some top players in here, and even a player right here, Alex Isak. I don't really know how to say it, Isak, but he is a guy that I didn't even know about, and I watched this video multiple times through because of how knowledgeable he is. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already subscribed to him, but I would make sure you watch this video. But we are going to be going over what he says about João Felix.
João Felix. His prices have actually come down a lot. I checked the other day, his PSA 9.
Now we're going to stop here on this graph. As you can see, this is just his PSA 9, and this is on Card Ladder if you guys want to go check it out. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you on my computer, but his PSA 9 prices as of May 3rd were $135. If you look on this graph at this high point, they were over $300. They were in the roughly $320 range, and you can see the high price was $318, and the average price is $186. Now that's a number that could go up a lot more, and this is a card that's super low risk, considering how highly touted of a prospect he was after his first season or so, or once he exploded onto the scene. And now again, don't listen, I might not know something about him, but this is just from a guy who just learned about him recently, and from my standpoint, I think Felix is a really good buy because of how low he is, and if he can score a goal, and Portugal uses their forwards a lot in the attacking game, and I think it's likely that he will, Portugal are going to be close to the favorites to win the entire tournament. I think if he can win, I think we can see Ronaldo's prices go up a lot, especially if he wins another Euro. And I think we could see João Felix's numbers spike after he scores a first goal. If he plays well, like maybe scores 2 goals even or a hat trick, I think his numbers could explode because people have forgotten about him because of Erling Haaland.
Mine is going for as low as $120. He's definitely been struggling at Atletico. I think that has a lot to do with kind of the system he's in and how they actually play over there. So considering his prices have dipped down, I think that kind of minimizes some of your risk. I think he'll get some attention and some hype around the Euros for sure. So with where his prices are right now, I'm actually going to say that is a solid buy.
Now, basically what he's saying is you can't go wrong buying him. His prices have already dipped so much that they're most likely not going to go down anymore. You've already had the potential to see a spike if he scores a goal, where I think that's a really good buy as well. So those are two guys that I think, I don't know too much about them, but I think they're potential guys to look into because you could make a lot of cash. Now, the first of our actual list of players that we're going to be going over is Drew Lock. Now, this is a guy that had a ton of hype going into the 2020 season because of how good he had played in his final 4 games. He won all 4 games, and he played really well doing so. His numbers weren't insane, but he led the Broncos, who were not one of the better teams, to a 4-0 record as a starter. As you can see, it was actually 5 games, and I think he went 4-1. Yeah, 4-1, but he won his final 4. 7 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He had 1,000 yards, so he was averaging just over 200 yards per game. That's why I wasn't shocked when his numbers started to dip, when he was averaging something like 225 yards per game. His touchdowns to interception ratio certainly went down, as you can see, 7-3 to 16-15. But if you remember last year, he was playing with a depleted Denver Broncos team, especially after Courtland Sutton went down for injury. His numbers slowly got worse and worse, which is why I think with a fully healthy team, you have Courtland Sutton as well as Jerry Jeudy, and I think they signed one other receiver. You're allowing yourself to buy low on a player like Drew Lock and sell incredibly high, maybe after the first game of the season when he plays well, maybe 5 games into the season. I think he is a phenomenal buy. You can get his Prism PSA 10s for roughly $55 on eBay, which I think is a phenomenal buy. I think you can make a ton of money. The next player we're going to talk about is Jalen Hurts. This is a guy that I think has a chance to win MVP if his team can play better behind him. As you can see last year, in only 4 games as a starter, he had 1,061 yards, 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Now, for most people, that might not sound crazy at all. It's just normal, regular passing numbers. It's not something spectacular. And his yards per game certainly was not really crazy at all. As you can see, it says here, his yards gained per, I don't really like that. I can't find his yards per game. But if you do the math, you've got 1,000 divided by 4, which is roughly 250, right? Yeah, 250 yards per game. Now, you think about that, and you put that into a calculator, and you multiply that times, now it's 16 games that a player is going to be playing. He's on pace for 4,200 passing yards throughout the season. If maybe he can get that help with Devonta Smith, that his interception numbers go down for not forcing the ball, he's on pace for a really solid passing season. But that is not what really gets me excited about Jalen Hurts. What gets me excited about him is his rushing and receiving yards. So, not even receiving. I don't know why they grouped them together. But in his 4 games that he played as a starter, he had 354 yards on the ground. So 4 games and 350 yards. You multiply that times another 4 because he's going to be playing 16 games in a season. And Jalen Hurts is on pace for 1,400 yards rushing. So he said 4,200 yards passing and 1,400 yards rushing, which equates to 5,600 total yards. Now, do I think that is sustainable for an entire season? No, but Jalen Hurts is a spectacular player who I think could be, as good as Lamar Jackson was in his MVP season. He's a guy that I wouldn't put it past him. I really like him as a player. He's super smart. He went to Alabama and Oklahoma, 2 of the top football schools in the country. He knows how to win games, and I think he can use the weapons around him, even if they're not the best NFL receivers, to allow himself to win games and boost his stock. He is a guy that I am buying currently. I would recommend you guys buy. He is probably my number 1 buy of anybody. It's a really close race there, but I think Jalen Hurts is my number 1 buy of any sport currently. The next player is another football player, and this is Josh Allen. Now, I've talked a lot about him as well as the next 2 baseball players, and I'm sure you can guess who they are. Josh Allen is a guy that I think is going to win the MVP this season for the Buffalo Bills. Last season, he was up there for MVP. He had a really good and improved season. As you can see, his yards went up by roughly 1,400 yards. He increased his touchdowns by 17, while only increasing his interceptions by 1. He is a guy that I think is a phenomenal player, and I think he is going to win MVP this season on I don't even know if I'm going to say regressed, but similar season to what he put up last year in 2020. I think those numbers are going to be really hard to top. Maybe passing yards, but his touchdowns to interception ratio was really good. I think he can win MVP with a ratio like that, throwing that many touchdowns. I think maybe getting closer to 5,000 yards passing could help put him over that mark, or maybe Buffalo plays really well. I think Josh Allen is a phenomenal buy, and similar to Jalen Hurts, he is really good running the ball. Last year, he ran less than he had in the previous 2 years. As you can see, he only had 420 yards compared to 510 and 630, which tells me that he is maturing as a quarterback. His yards per attempt decreased as they did from his rookie season to his sophomore season and now into his 3rd season. But that's not something I'm worrying about. I'm really good if he can get 350 to 400 yards on the season. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that's a really good number to add on to close to 5,000 total yards that we could predict or hope for him to have passing. And I think Josh Allen's going to win MVP, which is why I think his Prism cards, at least his Prism rookies or his select field levels, which I really like, I think those can expect a large bump. Now, the next 2 players I've talked about in my previous video, and especially Julio Rodriguez. So I'll talk a little bit less about him. But this is going to be Noelvi Marte. He is a 19-year-old shortstop for the Seattle Mariners. He's already 6'1", 180, which is a really good size. And as you can see in his picture, he just looks like that short and stocky type of guy that has that untapped power, even though he's not super tall. He is a guy that I think can absolutely rake. I'm not worried about the home run numbers. As you can see this year, he already has 3 home runs in only 64 at-bats. But that's not really what I'm looking at. What I really like is his batting average. Last year, he played really well, and that was in foreign ball. He hit 310. And now basically they brought him to America. This is his first ever time playing in the United States, and he is absolutely demolishing the ball. He's never played against American competition, which is supposedly better than when you play in the foreign rookie ball. He's adjusting to it extremely well, and he hasn't missed a beat so far this season. He is 21 of 56, which is unheard of. As you can see, a 375 average. The only knock to his game that you could say is his strikeout to walk ratio, which is a 2.0 ratio, which is a little bit high. You'd like to see a player with maybe a little more discipline or that draws a few more walks, but I'm not really worried about it because he is hitting almost 400. He's gotten over 1,000 OPS, which is phenomenal, and his prices have not yet taken off. His autos, I think, are a little bit too expensive, but I think there's a lot of room to be made on his first Bowman Chrome base cards. I would look into buying maybe a numbered blue, get a little bit of a jersey match action, or even trying to look for some lower numbers. I've seen some orange mega boxes on eBay for really good prices. I just picked one up at the Wisconsin Dells Card Show, and I'm super happy that I was able to get one. I just think he is a phenomenal buy right now. I think his prices are extremely undervalued because of the team that he's on. But after what I'm expecting the Mariners to do in the next couple of seasons, I think Noelvi could be a season-long hold, or I think him and Julio Rodriguez, who I'm talking about next, could be guys that you buy now and just wait for maybe 2 seasons or 3 seasons once the Mariners can catch fire with all their top prospects and once they all get into the bigs. I think their cards, at least for Julio Rodriguez, Noelvi Marte, maybe Taylor Trammell and Jared Kelenic, I think those are guys to watch out for, maybe in a couple of year hold and not something that's just a season-long flip. So that's going to take us to our final player. He is a guy that I actually love to just watch. I think his swing is so good. I just love the way he plays. He is just developing every season. I can't say enough about him. It is Julio Rodriguez. He is 6'3", 180 pounds, which he has the height to be a phenomenal power hitter. He does play the outfield, which tends to sell better than a guy that plays second base or catcher or whatnot, so that's always a plus from an investing standpoint. But this year, he has just taken an insane jump where he looked really bad if you look at his numbers in 2020, 2021 in Escogido. I don't really know how to say that, but I think that's kind of similar to a fall ball type of league where he hit only 196, had 0 home runs and 56 at-bats. That has not been the case this season in high A. He is 21 of 63, which is a 333 batting average. He has 5 doubles and 5 home runs, which has led him to 12 RBIs and a 1.09 OPS, something that's just incredible, especially for a guy that's known for his hitting and not really known for getting walks. As you can see, his numbers have been like, don't really count this foreign rookie ball. At least I think it's an outlier compared to his other seasons. I think he's mainly like a 1-3 type of 1-3 roughly walk to strikeout. That's where he's been. He's, close to that 1-2, which is, again, we talked about it with Noelvi Marte. I'm not really worried about that. I think it's still a pretty good number as long as you're making contact with the ball. But Julio is a guy that I think is going to finish this year as the #1 prospect in baseball, which is why I think his prices right now are not reflective of that. I think they're closer to where he is ranked as the close to #5 prospect in baseball. And if you look at Wander's prices compared to Julio's, at least for his Bowman Chrome autos, Julio is 1/2 of Wander, which he is definitely as good of a player, if not maybe even a little bit better. Maybe not overall, but I think power-wise and average-wise, he is as good of a player as Wander Franco is, which is why I believe he is a phenomenal buy right now, at least for the season. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think on these 7 players, we'll say, even though it's mainly like 5. Let me know if you agree or if I missed anybody. And let me know what you guys think of my predictions. Do you think I'm maybe a little bit too far off? Am I being a little bit too bold? What do you guys think down below? I love to hear what you guys have to say. And this is going to be it for me. I will be making some more videos next week. If you have any video ideas or any players you want me to go over, I would love to know that down below in the comments, because I'm kind of running low on video ideas. I don't want to keep shoving the same stuff down your guys' throats. So let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.